listening to the Art of Homeschooling podcast, where we help parents cultivate creativity and connection at home. I'm your host, Jean Miller, and here on this podcast, you'll find stories and inspiration to bring you the confidence you need to make homeschooling work for your family. Let's begin. Hey there, my friend. Guess what episode this is? We are on episode 100. Whoa, so exciting. And as I'm recording this episode, I've just returned from our oldest child's wedding, the first of our three kiddos to get married. And let me tell you, it's such a joy for me to watch our children find partners they love. And now our son and his wife have decided to spend the rest of their lives together. We all had so much fun at the wedding, and my heart, this mama's heart, is so full. I thought this could be a good time to share a few reflections about parenting adult children and how homeschooling really enriched our lives and relationships. Plus, I have a special giveaway, so be sure to listen to the end to find out how you can enter. And so here we are. Welcome to episode 100, Reflections of a Homeschool Mom 26 years later. Our family's first year of homeschooling was exactly 26 years ago this month as I'm recording this episode. And I want to share with you my reflections about parenting these adult children and the benefits of homeschooling that I see now, all these years later. But before we get there, just a quick moment to acknowledge this milestone of the 100th episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast. Everywhere I go these days, someone mentions the podcast to me. People tell me they're so excited to have just discovered the podcast, or that the podcast is how they found out about me, and they're really happy that they can now learn from me and hear from me. Or they recommend the podcast to all of their friends. I hear this so often, and I truly feel humbled and honored at the reach that this simple act of recording an episode every week brings. We now have over 50,000 downloads, which is just mind-boggling to me. So thank you for being here, for listening, for sharing the podcast with other homeschoolers who might benefit from listening as well. In honor of this 100th episode, we have a giveaway. We actually are giving away our holistic planning pack to 3 lucky winners this week. All you have to do to enter is go to lovethepodcast.com/art of homeschooling and leave a review. After you do that, send an email to support@artofhomeschooling.com saying that you've left a review, and we'll be in touch for how you can access your planning pack. This is a set of 14 really beautiful templates that you can use to plan your year, your week, your day, no matter what curriculum or approach you use to homeschooling. So go leave a review, get in touch with us, and you'll be entered to win a planning pack in honor of the 100th podcast episode. Here's a beautiful review we received from Jacqueline that really warms my heart and reminds me of why I do what I do. Words you need to hear always. Jacqueline says, I'm sitting in my car eating an oatmeal cookie after running errands at the end of the day. Jean talks about making sure you're taking care of yourself so that you can be your best self as the teacher. I stop the car because my eyes are blurry with tears. I've always been a self-care advocate. I even have a t-shirt that says, spread self-love. But putting that into practice on the daily with 2 tiny humans and lots to get done is hard. I know we need to fill our cups so we can fill others. Thankfully, we don't have to feel alone as we learn to take care of ourselves. Jean's words wash over me like a warm blanket of love. Sometimes we are mothered in such profound ways by other women. I can't thank her enough for her support through this messy, hard, beautiful, fulfilling path of homeschooling. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Jacqueline. Our goal here at the Art of Homeschooling podcast is to help parents everywhere embrace homeschooling in a way that makes it simple, inspiring, and doable. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Have you ever wondered what the most popular episodes of the podcast are? Well, here you go. Here are our top 3 as of now. Episode number 3, Relax into Your Homeschool Rhythm. This has been at the top of the charts ever since it was published. So if you haven't had a listen, go check that one out. Then comes episode 27, where I have a conversation with Brian Wolf from Waldorf-Ish all about movement games and activities for homeschoolers. In the third top episode is episode number 2, where I have a conversation with my homeschooling mentor, Barbara Dewey. She shares so much wisdom in that episode. You can find these 3 episodes and their show notes by going to artofhomeschooling.com/podcast and scrolling to find the title. And of course, you can listen on any podcast platform or player where you like to listen to podcasts. And now, on to today's episode. Welcome to episode 100, Reflections of a Homeschooling Mom 26 years later. I want to share with you today some qualities that I find homeschooling really develops in children. So here are 3 qualities that I want to highlight, what we've each gained from being a part of this homeschooling family. These 3 qualities are loyalty, acceptance, and self-sufficiency. Here is just a little bit of reflection on each one. Loyalty. One of the things I see most clearly 26 years after beginning our homeschooling journey is this strong sense of loyalty that everyone in our family of 5 has. Of course, this is partly a personality trait, but I also see how all of our years of homeschooling have really deepened this sense of togetherness, a strong feeling of support for each other, no matter what. Over the years, closeness ebbs and flows, of course, but the loyalty remains and has only grown stronger and stronger through the years. What I mean by that is, of course, there were times when siblings were more at odds with each other, when they weren't so close, or when my relationship with one of the kids was more distant, like during the teen years, or when the boys were so into their own activities and our daughter, who's the youngest, was just that much younger that they didn't seem to be able to relate to each other. But now, looking back, I see how our time spent together really fostered such a strong sense of loyalty over the years. And now that everyone is grown and an adult, that quality is such a beautiful thing to see and to experience. The second quality I want to highlight is acceptance. This one is so special to me. I say to homeschooling parents all the time, start with acceptance. Because even when we think we're fully accepting our children, we often have certain judgments about wishing they were just a little different in this way or just a little more of that. And I see in my grown children such a sense of acceptance of differences, of each other, of our humanness, and understanding that none of us are perfect. We all have our quirks. We all have our unique ways of being in the world. But one of the things I appreciate the most is that we can honor each other's gifts while also appreciating our own. At the same time, we can accept our faults and each other's faults with a gentle sense of love. I really appreciate this acceptance, and I think it comes from years of spending so much time together. Some say that what families offer each other is a way for each of us to smooth out our rough edges over time, right? And I see that so clearly in my family. And to me, one of the goals of homeschooling is to help each of our children find their unique gifts, like discover their unique gifts, and then go out and share them with the world. And in my view, in looking back in retrospect, I really believe it all starts with acceptance. The third quality I want to highlight is self-sufficiency. So a huge quality that homeschooling fosters, from my perspective, is self-sufficiency. I love how each of my kids is determined, so determined to make their own way in the world. I know sometimes this can be challenging. It can be challenging to us, like a 2-year-old saying, I do it myself. But in the end, this is a beautiful thing. Each of my children has such fascinating interests, from mountain biking to pickling vegetables to backpacking, fly fishing, so many different interests. And when they want to learn something new, each of my kids finds a way. They read books, they find mentors, they invite their partners or friends to join them in their adventures. I remember in the beginning of our homeschooling journey when Brian and I wrote this family vision statement together. And one of the things I really wanted was for my children to learn how to learn by fostering a love of learning, a lifelong love of learning. And now I see the results of that vision that was only an idea in the beginning. I often say I have the luxury of hindsight now. And this is one of the things that shines forth really strongly. I highly recommend that you write a family vision statement if you haven't already. One of the joys at this stage in life where I am now is to go back and read that vision statement all these years later and see how much of it came to be. You can read the actual statement Brian and I wrote in the beginning of our homeschooling journey back in 1996 by going to episode 4 of the podcast, Why Are We Homeschooling? How to Write Your Family Vision. Just go to artofhomeschooling.com/episode 4 and you'll find it there. In that episode, you'll see this quote from me. Our vision statement became a beacon of light to guide us through the days and years in a really sweet and nurturing way. And as I reflect now back on 26 years, that's oh so true. One other episode you might want to check out is episode 24, Looking Back on Homeschooling, where I share what I miss the most, the hard things that I don't miss, and what I wish I had known at the beginning of the journey. So go check out artofhomeschooling.com/episode 24. So as we wrap up, here is my message to all homeschoolers. It's worth it. In a nutshell, I want to encourage you to relax, simplify, and trust, because the days are long. The days can seem so long, but the years are short, my friend. As a homeschooling mentor, I hope that by sharing these qualities that homeschooling cultivates, that I can encourage you and assure you that you can do this homeschooling thing, even when some days are wild and wonky. I want to remind you that homeschooling is a long game and that you, dear homeschooling parent, are doing important work in this world. I feel so honored and grateful now to get to spend my days guiding others on the homeschooling path to help you develop the clarity and the confidence to find a path for yourself that works for your unique family. because the days are long, but the years are short. Our family now is very spread out geographically. When we hop on Zoom all together, we have to list 4 different times because we represent 4 different time zones here in the United States. And so I truly savor the moments when our family is back together again at holidays, family events like weddings, and summer camping trips. I also celebrate how unique each of my kids are and the gifts that they share and bring to the world. And I wouldn't trade the last 26 years for anything. My parenting journey began 33 years ago, and I wouldn't trade that in. It's been an amazing journey. I hope this episode has truly helped you to see that you're right where you need to be right now. Thanks for joining me for this epic episode number 100 here on the Art of Homeschooling podcast. And in honor of reaching this milestone, I'm giving away 3 holistic planning packs, a set of templates to help you plan out your week, your day, your lessons. To enter the giveaway, simply go to lovethepodcast.com/artofhomeschooling and leave a review. Then send an email to support@artofhomeschooling.com to let us know, and we will enter you into the giveaway in honor of episode 100. The giveaway closes at the end of September, so please get your review in by September 30th. And we will then notify the 3 winners. One final reminder, you can find the show notes for this episode with links to everything that I've mentioned over at artofhomeschooling.com/episode 100. That's all for today, my friend. But here's what I want you to remember. Rather than perfection, let's focus on connection. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Art of Homeschooling podcast.